Hey there guys, in my latest Chelan Kokanee video, several of you noticed I was running longer leaders on one of my lures, and I want to get into that today because today I'm going to talk about Kokanee leader material and leader length, and I want to discuss a little bit more and show you why I really recommend short leaders for running things like hoochies, but when I deviate from that and run longer leaders, and also what materials I use and why. But before we get into that, I just want to let you know I'm doing a quick fundraiser now until July 1st. You can pick up a hat on the very first link that you'll see in the description below. That's going to be used to help upgrade some of my camera equipment to make my videos even clearer and better for you, the viewer. Okay, so let's get into that longer leader. And in that video on Chelan, I was running this Platinum Flutterbug from Paulina Peak. It's a spoon with moon jelly tape and gold on it, and I'm running a 24-inch leader on these lures. Now, I've always said that when running lures that have their own action, you want to give them a lot of space on the leader length so that they have room to move and they're not competing with each other and canceling each other's action out. And so I have to sort of tweak that for each individual lure and dodger that I'm running. I'm running a 24-inch leader when I'm running the 5.5-inch teardrops. I'll drop that down to 18 inches if I'm running that behind a smaller 4.5-inch dodger. So it really varies by dodger. But you know, 99% of the time I am running micro hoochies. Like, you guys know I love these little micro hoochies. They really are my favorite and most productive lure. And I always tie these on 10-pound monofilament Maxima Ultra Green. I think you can use any monofilament brand you want. I just happen to like Maxima Ultra Green. But I do not use fluorocarbon. A lot of people ask me, why don't I just use fluorocarbon? And there's two reasons for this. One, I don't think Kokanee are particularly line shy. And the other reason is that fluorocarbon has a higher density than monofilament, so it's heavier. And because it's heavier, I find that it actually reduces the action on the lure because the dodger's having to throw around more mass. And to illustrate this higher density, I'm going to show you this. Okay, just to show you the density differences, I'm going to drop in a piece of 10-pound fluorocarbon, and watch how quickly it sinks once I break the tension. See how, boom, it falls really quickly. Now, if I put a 10-pound piece of monofilament in there and get it to break the surface tension, watch how slow it will fall. See that slow fall? And as that video clearly illustrates, fluorocarbon does have a higher density than monofilament of the same diameter, which was what gives it its sort of scratch resistance. It's very resistant to getting damaged, but once it is damaged, it becomes more likely to break because it's more brittle, because it's harder material. So this is the reason why I like monofilament as well, is that, you know, these things will get wrapped around the gill plates of these Kokanee. It rubs on their teeth a little bit, and it gets abraded, and I can get away with a little bit more abrasion on the leader material with mono than I can with fluorocarbon. So this is why I stick with my 10-pound monofilament. You can go up to 12 if you want. I know a lot of anglers that run 12, especially if you're targeting bigger Kokanee. So that's the reason why I run 10-pound mono. But why not run a lighter mono, right? Why not run a 4 or 6-pound? Well, again, I don't like replacing my leaders that frequently, so a heavier monofilament is going to be more durable, but also it's more stiff. A thicker material leader, like 10 or 12-pound, is going to throw around the lure better than, say, like a 4-pound or 6-pound monofilament leader. So here in this video, I have a 10-inch leader using 10-pound monofilament on a hoochie. You can see it's really getting thrown around side to side. Then I tied up a same leader length hoochie on 6-pound monofilament, and you'll see that it gets thrown around far less. And that's just because of the extra slack and softness in this thinner material leader. And I wouldn't say the differences are huge here, but those differences are real. I can tell that the 10-pound leader is really throwing around the hoochie a little bit more. You really can't see the leaders any different. The Kokanee really don't respond to them any differently, so you might as well just run that stiffer leader. You're more likely to land more fish. You're going to get a little bit more action out of your lures. Okay, so now let's talk about leader length. I think one of the most common problems that I encounter with struggling Kokanee anglers is that their leader lengths are far too long, especially on lures that don't have their own action, when they're running things like hoochies or flies and things like that. So I'm going to pull away to some clips here of underwater video of different leader lengths of hoochies behind a Dodger. And so here is my sort of standard leader on a micro hoochie. I'm going to run 6 to 8 inch leaders. That is where 90% of my leaders are tied at. And you can see in this video, the Dodger really throws this thing around, adds a ton of action to it. The Kokanee are not turned off by this proximity to the Dodger usually. Sometimes there are cases where they do seem to be a little bit Dodger shy, particularly right after ice out or when water temps are really cold. That's when those longer leaders might come into play. Now just look at the difference on the action on a 10-inch leader versus a 6-inch leader. And this is what a 10-inch leader looks like in reality. Look at it underwater. You can see the action's really depleted, but it's still pretty good. Then let's transition to a 14-inch leader. Now I know a lot of anglers that run these really long leaders, barely moving side to side. It has very little randomness to its action. You can tell that that's not really going to trigger a bite as well as something that has more action on it. Now let's just do a quick overlay of the 6-inch and the 14-inch side by side here, and again you can see the differences are huge between these two. So this is the reason why I really recommend that you run those shorter leaders, especially if you're struggling to get a bite going. Maybe if it's really cold out or you're running short leaders and you're not getting bit, experimentally throw some longer leaders on there just to see if it makes a difference. Maybe they're a little bit Dodger shy that day, but in most cases I find that shorter leaders are always the answer. Alright, so I hope this video helps address some of these questions around leader length, leader material, what pound test am I using, and the reasons why I don't run fluorocarbon leaders versus monofilament leaders. Okay? Alright guys, if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments section below and I'll get back to you, and I'll see you next time. And just remember, fish smarter, not harder. Bye guys.